feel like a big problem we're facing today is a fear of isolation and a fear of paranoia, and also just a fear of infection. This is something that's very, very common in people. People have fear, and it also has greatly reminded me of one of my favorite films, John Carpenter's 1982 film, The Thing. What makes this movie so interesting and what makes it the choice of my topic is that it analyzes people and it shows how important communication is. The reason I'm talking about the film is because I feel that, like I said, it's very, very relevant to what we're seeing today, and also because the film is like I said, it's one of my favorites, and it's a film I've seen many, many times, and it's a film I've rewatched recently many times during this quarantine. And like I said, it's very relevant to what we're seeing today, and I've also just had an interest in film ever since I was very, very young. I've even taken a history of film class here at Lincoln Land with Professor Fletcher. The first thing I'll be discussing in the film is the history of the film, its adaptations, its spin-offs, and how the movie has endured and how the creature in the film has been so popular for so long. And I also feel like a big reason for that is because it's reflected people's decisions, and it can be seen as very, very metaphorical. Second, I'll be discussing the characters and all the challenges they face and how they overcome these challenges. Finally, I'll be discussing the takeaways from the movie and how we can learn from it, and how we can learn from the good decisions and the bad decisions made in the film. We should also learn what a very So the film is based on a 1938 novella written by John W. Campbell Jr. titled Who Goes There? The novella has had many spin-offs, it's had comic book adaptations, and most famously it was made into a film adaptation by John Carpenter. There was also a 1951 adaptation called The Thing from Another World, and a 2011 prequel to the Carpenter film that also was just called The Thing. One of the reasons the film and the creature in the film have endured for so long is because they've reflected a lot of the issues people face, and it's also very relevant to what we're seeing now with this coronavirus pandemic. The novella could be seen as taking a lot of takeaways from the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, which of course was a misnomer. The 1982 film is seen as drawing a lot of parallels to the AIDS pandemic going on in the early 1980s. And it's also seen as capitalizing on a lot of the paranoia and fear that people were having when that was a big thing. The 2011 film also could be seen as borrowing a lot of elements from the 2009 swine flu pandemic, which is also very, very interesting. And this is one of the reasons the film has endured for so long. In the movie, the Carpenter film is actually about a research base in Antarctica that discover an alien, and this alien can actually assimilate people, and it basically devours their minds and assimilates them, absorbs their bodies, and basically kills the person but uses their body as a shell, and it can blend in perfectly, which is a very scary concept, but it also is interesting because, like I said, it reflects a lot of these fears and a lot of these paranoias that we've seen during these pandemics. While the social commentary is interesting, what's also important is the characters, and these characters, all the decisions that they make, are also very, very interesting. The main character, MacReady, played by Kurt Russell, is able to survive the film because he doesn't lose his cool, and because he stays responsible during the whole time, and because he listens to all the information given to him, and because he makes swift, smart decisions. The characters in the film who are more emotionally driven suffer the consequences, and many of them are actually assimilated by the Thing. This fear of paranoia is a very scary environment, but it also shows us that even during impossible situations, we have to learn to overcome, and we have to learn to take advantage, and we have to learn to just stay strong and stay together. And the character in the film, MacReady, he actually is able to develop a test after encounters with the Thing. He finds a way to test to see if someone is human or if someone's the Thing. So it shows that even during impossible situations, we can actually learn to overcome them, and we can actually learn to adapt, and we can learn to get past them. Characters in the film are interesting because they show us all the different paths we can take during a pandemic. Also, a lot of takeaways we can take from this film also come from the characters. All these different parallels and all these different things going on shows just how destructive fear can be, and how paranoia and distrust can be a very, very bad thing. The main challenge in the film isn't the alien, it's learning to work together, and it's learning to overcome an impossible situation. And it's also learning to overcome fear and to overcome an impossible situation. Also a big thing in the film is communication. Communication is key in this film. It's how the characters work together, and it's how they can actually survive. Communication is another big issue that's faced in a lot of pandemics. It's certainly something we're seeing today, and a lot of issues, in my opinion, are issues because of communication. Communication is a bigger problem than the coronavirus you're seeing right now. Communication is also, in this film, a bigger problem than the alien. What also makes the alien scary, on top of being able to assimilate people, it can also turn them together, which is very bad and very destructive. What makes the movie interesting is how it analyzes people. And rewatching this film, I learned how important subtext is, and I learned how rewatching a film can actually teach us, and it can actually, reading into subtext can actually make us understand a film better and overcome some of our issues. And also shows us how to handle a pandemic, because the characters in the film make good decisions and bad decisions, and we can judge based on what they've done.